Today we're going to be painting a watercolor Mother's Day card, and here is what you need. The first thing that I did is I made the word mom in bold letters and printed it off, and then I traced it on to my card here. You can kind of see it, so that'll be our little guide. You'll also need some brushes. There's a pencil and these brushes. So I have a size 2 and a size 4 and a size 8. I wouldn't go too closely, worry too much about the sizes on there because they vary a ton. I also have a set of watercolor paints. You can use whatever colors you want your flowers to be. I'll tell you the colors I'm using as I'm painting. I have 2 jars of water. One is what I put the dirty brush in, and then this is the one that I use for clean water, and I often will take it from here and rinse it in here just to keep the brushes cleaner. So let's get started. I wanted to demonstrate a few of the different kinds of flowers that I'm going to do. So I will show you some and you can practice if you'd like. So we're going to do some pink tulips. These are all really simple. And you can do it however you want, but just with some little points on them. That brush might actually be a little bit big. That's a bit better. Another one that we're going to do are some, and that color is called opera pink. The second color that I'm going to do is alizarin crimson, and this is going to be a rose. And I just paint those like a little C-stroke that are kind of interconnected, and then go just a little, push down harder on your brush, and make more C-strokes, and then you're just going to go wider and wider as you go out. And you can go back in and add a few little other things, other strokes in there to fill it in if you want. Then we're going to do kind of a traditional, almost like a daisy kind of stroke, where you just press down and pull up to make the petals. Leave a little space in the middle to add a center of whatever color you want it to be. And you can even do all different colors. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of yellow right in the center. And I'm okay if it bleeds a little bit. It's fine. Then I'm going to do a flower. I don't even know what you would call this flower, but just with a bunch of little more dots kind of around the edge. And then how about a brown center? So for the blue is ultramarine blue and Hansa yellow for the center. And then this little orange flower is New Gamboge. And sometimes I like to go in after I've painted it and just add a teeny bit of red right around the inside of the flower. Okay, let's do one more flower. How about a purple? So I'm using Windsor Violet here. And this one, we can just have it go down almost like a lavender or a lupine, something like that. So we're keeping it really simple. If you want, you can add a a little pink in there. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint my card, and I'm gonna just pick one of these flowers to start with. As I said earlier, I've already traced this out. You could just freehand sketch it if you'd like, but sometimes it's nice just to pick a font from your computer and print it out and make it big. And also, if you want, I will include an email, and so you could reach out, sign up for my newsletter, and I will send this specific one to you. All right, I think I'm going to start with the ultramarine blue. You don't want your paint too watery. Kind of the consistency of milk is a good way to start. So I just make a little puddle, and then I'm just going to go around starting to fill it in. If you get too much paint on your brush, you can always dab some of it off. And it's fine to go over the lines a little bit. You probably don't want to too much, but I think a little bit of it makes it kind of more charming. Remember to leave a little space in the middle of the flower to add the center. And so I'm thinking I've got 5 flowers, so maybe 1/5 of the space I want to do these blue flowers. Some of them can be pushed up against the edge where you don't see the whole flower, and that's kind of fun to do. It's relaxing. It's easy to do. I find this project to be easy. All right, I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to go to another color while I let that dry. So I think I'm going to do some little kind of roses now. I'm using my number 4. Again, mix up a little puddle of paint with some water, and start making your little roses. So like I said, you do a little C shape, and then as you go out, you want to make it just a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. A little easier to get the center. And some of the imperfection of this is its charm, so please don't worry about making a perfect flower. All right, I think now the blue is dry, so I can go over to my yellow. Again, mix up kind of a nice little puddle of yellow. And where it's not dry, it's okay. I don't mind it bleeding. This could also be a great thing to do with kids. All right, I think now I'm going to do some tulips. I'm using that opera pink, which is just a really fun kind of fluorescent pink. And I just do that typical tulips, kind of tulip that we did as a kid with the 3 little things, and the 3 little pointy leaves going up, and kind of do the outside of it, and then just go back in and add the paint in the center. Super simple. And there's something fun about these really simple flowers that are just kind of peaceful to paint. I like to do it going all different directions. Okay, now what I like to do is just add a bit of this alizarin crimson, which is just kind of a red, but it's pinky, the same one we used for the roses. And just add a little dab at the bottom just to give it a little bit more dimension. And it's kind of nice to do this when they're still wet. Some of these are starting to dry a little bit, so I may have to blend it. That's okay. And to blend it, I just wet my brush and then make sure it's not too wet. And then I just go back in and soften the edges so it doesn't have that hard edge. But it's kind of nice, just gives it a little more of a dimension. It makes it look 3D. Whoops. So I got a little bit of paint on my finger and it's smeared on here, so I just wet a little piece of paper towel and then just kind of dab it off. And if you can do that before it dries, usually you can kind of get it off. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do a little orange flower. So this is New Gamboge, but you can do any orange you want. And just the little dots. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and add a brown center. I'm going to use a burnt umber, which is a nice kind of warm brown color. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little, a small brush, my number 2, and I'm going to go back in and add just a little bit of a warm red color. So this is permanent red, or the alizarin crimson is a cool red. And I like the cool red and the cool kind of Hansa yellow. There's something nice about them mixing together. Not Hansa yellow, sorry, New Gamboge. Now we're going to do the purple. Mix a little bit of that, a little puddle. And then kind of start with one dot at the top and then kind of add some going down. You can leave a little space in the middle if you like, because we're going to go back in and add some green. And again, it can be going all different directions. It just makes it a little more fun, I think. And you're starting to look for this space where you don't have anything going on. to add these. Okay, now here we are near the end, and so I'm just going to fill in with a few more little flowers along the edges, and then we can add in some leaves after that. But if there's any big kind of holes, I want to add some more flowers. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is mix up some green, and I kind of like to do two different shades of green. So I'm going to do this one that's a sap green that is, let's mix it over here, that is pretty yellow green, and then I'm going to do another one that has more blue in it, and that just makes it kind of interesting. So I'm going to start with these little purple flowers and just kind of adding a little bit of a stem on those. Using my smallest brush here. So now with the same green, just need a little more water, a little more paint. I'm going to do some leaves and just kind of add them wherever. We're just filling in the space. So the way I like to do these kind of leaves are just press down and then press down on the other side. And sometimes I like leaving a little teeny gap in the middle just to make it look like the vein of the leaf. So you can practice it if you want, but it's just basically the point of your brush, then pressing down to the body, and then going back to the start and doing the same thing on the other side. For my last leaf, I have this little tiny filbert brush, but you could use your round brush if you don't have one of those. And I'm going to mix up a little darker green. So I'm using that same sap green, but then I'm adding some indigo to it. And so it's darker and has a little more of a blue cast to it. But it makes a nice contrast. And I want to do a little different shapes. I'm going to make them just a little bit more round, almost more like little dots. And again, they're just great fillers. So I'm just going to add those in wherever there's space. You can use another shade of green too, like an olive green is pretty. Green gold if you kind of want a brighter, really yellowy green. Okay, so for this last step, I've got a pen that is water and fade proof, and I'm going to add in some little dots to fill in more of the space, especially along the edge. to give it a more full look. Here at the end, you want to make sure that you get enough dots around the edge to have a bit of a border. You can draw a line if you want, but I think a line around the edge, I don't know, I like the dots. I think it's kind of more fun and interesting and different. It gives it a little more organic feel than drawing a line all the way around it. Alright, I think that's good. And then finally you want to take an eraser. I love these kneaded erasers. And just gently, making sure everything's dry, erase your pencil lines. Okay, then you want to sign your name. And that's it. You've made a Mother's Day card. And here we go, the finished product. Okay.